Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
And we head into week 15 of what is the NFL grind. Jared, how are you, man? You kind of got that. You're back on the. You're back on your therapist couch there, my man.
I'm in the evening bed. In the evening bed, chilling, but I'm good.
Yeah. There's just someone sitting off to your side there saying, "All right, do your affirmations." What's his name? What was the guy's name from Saturday Night Live? Does anybody remember the guy with? I am the best. I am number one.
I don't remember that bit.
You don't remember the guy who would do the affirmations? I can't remember. Maybe it was Dana Carvey. I don't know. But anyway, we're off to week 15. So before we talk about week 15, we have to go through, kind of a grinding week last week. Wasn't really we all lost a little bit of money. Nobody really got hammered. Jared rebounded like if he jumped off the bridge on a bungee cord. Thankfully for him, they didn't cut it when the Panthers came through for him out in Seattle.
Yeah,
he collected $850 on that one. Otherwise, Jared would have been so deep underwater, he would have found some new marine life.
You know, another thing, he would be way up too, is if he took our advice and just did the Eagles, giving up the points.
Yeah, he would have did better on that one too with the Eagles. But he wasn't here for us to adhere to for him to adhere to the sage advice of Sean and Rich, who both went red last week too. So. Sean down only $36.36. A little symmetry for Sean right there. So, all right, well, it's not that bad. Me, I lost $85. This has been the kind of the way of the world for me lately. That's why it's kind of getting to be like a little bit grindish, because 1 week you got 3 plays, you win 2, you lose 1. The next week you got 3 plays, you lose 2, you win 1, and you're kind of like jogging in place and not really advancing. Whereas last year, I'd have some weeks where 2-3 weeks in a row where I'd win 5 out of 6, just not even getting that many plays this year relative to what I got last year. So it's been kind of a bit of a grind. Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same for me. If I play 4, I go 2-2. I had 6 plays last week. I go 3-3. I think I have a little bit more than 6 plays this week, 7 or 8. So it doesn't matter which way I go. If I go low or high, I'm kind of ending up the same.
I got some bad news for you though. You'll find out in a minute.
I know Jared agrees with me on some of them.
I saw that too. You know what? I don't know about that one.
Well, let's look at the year-to-date results, because maybe you want to agree with Jared this week. I mean, the guy's been down 1, 2, 3, 4. He's been down for the last every finger on one hand weeks in a row. But if you notice, the losses are kind of going like this a little bit lately. So
I'm closing the gap, and I think I'm going to start going on the U shape upward again. So.
Well, you better, brother, because
don't use words like I hope. You're
right now, you're the USS Anchor, my friend, because you're down 1,200, and as a team, we're down 1,100. So you zero that out, and we'd be in the green.
We'll get there. There. We still got a couple more weeks to rebound and get back on.
We're counting on you, Jared. We're not counting you out. But if this was a boxing match, man, right now you'd be at about 7.
Yeah,
1,
I'd be on the
2.
Get your ass up.
He's a little fuzzy in the head too.
Do you know what day it is?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to continue on or no mas?
Yes, I want to fight the good fight and get back on track. Yeah.
Yes, he's going to go all Roberto Duran on us. No mas. So, all right. So last week we were down as a team $204. On the year, Jared's down $1,271.31 after just an onslaught of red. After he got to that top of the mountain, Sean, I think maybe he got a little full of himself, got a little tipsy, and fell over. A little too many bourbon picks.
I wonder, and I pretty much know the answer Jared would go, but, when you were up $1,400 earlier, if they told you could take your $1,400 and run, would have you done it, or would have you been where you are now?
Yeah, well, I probably would have pressed a little bit more just out of the grief factor.
You would have pressed more?
That's the gambler's thing, though.
You gotta press. You gotta press it.
So right now, Sean's down 317 for the year through week number 14. But the good news for Sean is He had 2 units last night on the San Francisco 49ers, trying to buddy up to our good friend Terry Hay out there, who's a huge 49ers fan.
Oh.
He thinks Brock Purdy is the next coming of a combination of Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Roger Staubach, Jim Plunkett. I mean, you put all the great quarterbacks together, you mix them up, and out comes Brock Purdy.
Hey, I was impressed.
This guy could be a diamond in the rough. He really could. I seen some of his college video at Ohio State. I mean, not Ohio, Iowa State, and he can throw it. This guy can throw it.
I'll tell you what, too. I don't know if either one of you saw the interview after the game. They sit up there on the Amazon desk and stuff. The kid basically said he's always had the confidence. Like, this isn't like he doesn't seem surprised at all. Some would call that arrogance, but like he wasn't arrogant about it.
Can I rewind the clock just a little bit? Just to week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 of this year. There was a guy in Seattle named Geno Smith that everybody was hanging on that guy so hard. He was the MVP after week number 6. Not one person on the planet's going to say he's the MVP. This kid's 6'1". He's short. There's been 2 good 6'1" quarterbacks in the history of the league. No rookie has won a Super Bowl. He was a mediocre quarterback at Iowa State, which is a mediocre program. He's hiding behind a team that gets the lead with him on good defense. As soon as the kid gets behind, like when he went in the game against Kansas City, he's going to explode. I'd be willing to bet my house on it.
I would say the Iowa State thing, I think he was a good quarterback in a mediocre program. He was the reason.
So why is it when he faced off against better competition, he was not good at all?
Well, because he was at a mediocre.
He's like one of those kids. My son used to play soccer, and there's a great disparity sometimes between soccer teams. And you'd get these kids who would score 15 goals in a year, and they would score like 8 of them against a team you blasted 20-0. But when they came down to the games where you needed a goal to get the win late, nowhere. Crickets.
Well, that would be the talent. I think that's the talent that Iowa State had versus the teams they had played. It wasn't all on
the guy who was the rookie of the year candidate till he blew out a knee, Bryce Hall up in the Jets. Now, there's no talent in that guy at all, is there?
There's a ton of talent, but quarterback and running back is a big thing, and everywhere they can compete. But when you don't have the other pieces, it's still hard. Yeah. So, I would argue that.
Nope.
He was always solid. He was always
gonna blow up. Threw interceptions in college against different competition. The 49ers have played the second softest schedule in the entire NFL. They've lost to the Bears on the road. They lost to Atlanta on the road. And they have another third bad loss on the road. They have 3 bad losses on the road. They're beating teams at home that they're supposed to beat. They're getting ahead of them. They're controlling the clock. Hey, you can only play the teams that are on your schedule. The one good team that they played this year, the Kansas City Chiefs, they got throttled. Wasn't close.
And I would also, I circle back to the Geno Smith thing. Kind of everybody knew eventually it would give out with Geno. It took a little bit longer than what people thought, but that's what Geno Smith does. So, I mean, I wouldn't compare.
He never for the Jets did he have a streak of games like he did for Seattle.
No, because Jets didn't have the talent at receiver that Seattle has.
Well, the Jets still. I mean, wait. They still have that same talent at wide receiver, and they're losing. Nothing's changed in terms of the talent around them. Why are they not scoring as much now?
Because they've lost the ability of their run game. Because they've lost the ability of their run game.
That's true, but Geno was never going to be the MVP. He wasn't going to do it.
But you can't, on one hand, Sean, say he didn't have the weapons in New York, and then he has the weapons in Seattle. He had the weapons in the first 6 games that he has now. And yet they're still only
the running game has been because he doesn't have the balance between the passing game and the running game now. Now he's being relied more on his arm and he's being exposed. That's really what comes down to.
You're trying to say Geno would be a consistent quarterback. Geno is not a consistent quarterback. That's why he was where he was. So he was never going to make it the full season without being who he is.
And with all due respect, Brock Purdy, if you ever see this, you weren't consistent at Iowa State, and I don't expect you to be all that consistent in the NFL either.
It's too early to tell.
We'll see. I mean, he's going to have.
We'll find out. Two good quarterbacks at 6'1". That's it. All the other ones are taller than that. And if you're telling me that Brock Purdy is going to be Russell Wilson or Drew Brees, I got some real estate.
I'm not going to make that comparison. I'm not going to go that far.
Well, I'll say this. You said about San Fran losing at Chicago. That was the first game of the year, and that was with Trey Lance. I would throw the Trey Lance stuff out. I never thought that was the right decision anyway.
It was a reach. That was a reach.
But they still lost, and they lost at Atlanta, and it's a third bad loss on the road too.
They lost at Denver, 11-10.
Three
ugly game that Garoppolo just played like crap.
But they still lost, no matter who played.
That defense is going to help.
Anyway, enough about the 49ers. 49ers, they should have a good defense. They played the second softest schedule in the NFL. They played one offensive-minded team, maybe two offensive-minded teams all year, and they got shellacked by the one good offensive-minded team that they played. Anyway, let's move forward. $486 for me on the year. Again, grinding it out. Hopefully, well, actually up a little more than that because I did have the 49ers and Brock Purdy yesterday. So I'm willing to be hypocritical from time to time.
He at least came through for you, right?
When money is well, he didn't come through for me. The defense came through me because the offense only scored 14 points. They may have scored at the end of the game, but when a 55-yard run, when the team is trying to, one gap, break the gap, and you're gone when everybody's trying.
Well, they didn't even score there. He went out.
No, but what I'm saying is they may have. It's different when they're trying to stop the run and you hit that seam and you get past that first line when they're playing a goal line defense. But other than that, the offense only produced 14 points. Thankfully, they got that turnover before halftime, or the only one of us that would have been a winner would have been Jared. Off to week number 15. But you know what? Every now and then the ball's got to bounce your way because plenty of times it bounces the other way for us in here. It looks like we covered just about every game this weekend too. Is the NFL goes to the Saturday, Sunday, Monday schedule? Are they playing Monday or no?
Yeah.
Green Bay and the Rams play Monday.
Oh,
yeah,
wonderful!
Not a good game at all.
Can't wait for that one. All right, as we mentioned, got off to a good start. So let's go with the Colts and the Vikings. Sean, you like the Vikings. Ready to rebound at home against the lowly Indianapolis Colts, although the Colts got a week off. And the Vikings, they're definitely heading in the wrong direction right now.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions exposed them, but the Lions are playing really good. And I kind of expected that, even with the line the way it was. People said it didn't make sense. Does this line really make sense? Again, we're saying if this is a neutral field, it's a half-point game to the Vikings. If this is in Indy, if this is in Indy, Indy's the favorite. I don't agree with that at all. The Vikings should be
Indy would be a half a point underdog.
They'd be a half-point underdog if this was neutral because you take the 3 points away. It'd be 2.5 to 3 point favorite for the Colts if it was in Indy. I don't.
Well,
that's what this
Kirk
line
Cousins doing the Kirk Cousins thing early in the year. The guy, another one of those guys that comes out, plays well in stretches, and gets the MVP talk, and then he goes back to making. He
does, but
ill-timed decisions.
This isn't like the Vikings have been playing bad for weeks. They played bad last week against Detroit, but Detroit's been playing really well. I expected that to happen.
The Jets.
Minnesota, yeah, but they were dominating the Jets early in that game, and then the Jets came back at the end. So I'm not saying the Vikings did not play bad that game at all. I think Minnesota wins this game by a touchdown.
I think Minnesota probably wins this game too. They're due to bounce back. They've played pretty poorly, so I'm a big fan of regression. I think some regression is likely too, though I do not have anything on this game at all. Jared, you don't either. But if you were to play it, what side would you play so everybody else knows to do the opposite?
If it was to play it, I would lean that the Colts may be able to keep this a little closer than people think. They may be able to score some points, and their line may be held up, and they may be able to stuff that run a little bit and slow it down. And if I think it was 4.5, I think I saw the line was. I'm not 100% sure on that.
It's 3.5.
3.5.
I think if the Colts can keep Matt Ryan upright,
it could be a field goal game. It could come down to a field goal. I could see that.
If they get pressure on Matt Ryan, I think this game is a blowout for the Vikings. If the Vikings can't get pressure on Matt Ryan, I think it'll be a high-scoring game that either team could win at the end. All right, the Eagles and the Bears. Sean, you're on one side, and then my man Jared is on the other. So why don't you guys try to figure out who's right?
So here it's just going. The Eagles aren't doing just keep blowing people out. The Bears started playing really a lot better. And then they had the bye week last week, so Fields got to rest a little bit. I know he was banged up. I just see this either being a real tight game where the Eagles just don't show up and Bears have a chance to win it at the end.
Were you watching the Giants game last week?
Or well, we're talking about the Giants. Or the Eagles are up 2 touchdowns late and the Bears get a touchdown, because I do think the Bears are going to put up points this game.
I don't think so.
Fields running it around. So 9 points is just too much at home with a team that's starting to play a lot better. They had a week off. The Eagles aren't just going to cruise through everybody. And eventually, too, the Eagles are going to have those games where they're just not going to show up, because Dallas is 2 games back with 4 games left. They're going to have those weeks where they're not going to show up at this point.
They can't afford it yet, because if they get 1 loss, the Cowboys are still on the schedule.
Yeah, it's still right there, but
so they can turn around and they can turn around and turn. They could, if they don't show up, they can turn around and turn home field advantage into wild card game.
Yeah, I understand, but they're gonna have. They haven't had those. They haven't had those weeks yet, really, where they don't show up. This could be one of them. And 9 points at home against a team coming off a bye late in the year, which some teams like that, some teams don't like that, but it's got to be an advantage at this point. Now you got to rest. You got a 4-game stretch here, and Fields was banged up before that week, so should be
all
good
right,
to
Jared,
have a
week
off for him.
Enough about the stinking Eagles.
They're explosive on both sides of the ball. They can beat you downfield. They can beat you with the run. And Chicago's a run defense is 32nd in the league. This is going to be ground, pound, run, throw all day. All day, Hurts is going to have lots of time to throw the ball. The Eagles are scoring 35 points Sunday on this Bears team. I could see the 35-17 game, and the Eagles just explode in the first half. Maybe they take the foot off the gas a little bit in the second half, but this Eagles team, I could put them down for 35 points. Between 31, 35 points should be a cinch for this Eagles team this week.
I have to say the one thing that I'm glad about all that is when you put your score out there, that the math added up for you.
I was waiting. I was ready to,
because you're Richard's the numbers guy.
28.
Well, I was going to say, the Bears may put up 28 points in this game, and it may be 35-28, which then I would cover. So I expect the Bears to put up some points.
I think it's going to be difficult for the Bears because Slay can take away the one wide receiver for the Bears. Their top wide receiver is out to begin with, Mooney. So their wide receiving, and then Claypool that they just traded for, he's going to be out as well.
And you're not going to get the production out of Kemet either. You're not going to get any production out of him in this game.
Well, maybe not. But if you take away half the field, I think it makes Justin Fields going to run more. And then certainly it seems like later in the game when pressure starts to build on Fields, he does tend to make mistakes late in games that cost the Bears. So maybe, Sean, they'll be driving and you'll be praying that he doesn't throw an INT.
Yeah, or maybe they're down 7, and if he does throw an INT, it doesn't matter. And
all right, so you're going to go ahead and show your on and off the bandwagon self right here. Chasing the Titans, and then all of a sudden, I'm going to go with the Chargers.
But I've been the same way with the Chargers, where I've been on too. But the Chargers are going one way here, and the Titans are going the other way. You're giving the Chargers.
It's a dangerous game, Sean. That's a dangerous game.
Chargers at home, only giving up 3. Titans are going to have a hard time stopping the Chargers too. Their defense is not playing well at all. It has never really played all that well. It's just really Chargers stop Henry, but they might not even have to.
Game? I think the line is about right. I don't think this is I felt like the 49ers game last night was the sucker game, but fortunately we got by.
Honestly, this is maybe almost it's almost a playoff game. Whoever wins this game's in pretty good shape right there, and whoever loses it takes a step backward. So it's close to a playoff game.
I like the Chargers at home in this spot too. I think they'll outscore the Titans. The only question is the Chargers defense is suspect at times too. And if they get into the traditional Chargers struggle inside the 20-yard line and it becomes a game where the Chargers kick field goals and the Titans score touchdowns, that would be the part that concerns me. That would be if the Chargers convert their chances to touchdowns, I do think the Titans will have a hard time keeping up. Well, game we missed, we jumped right over, and is the Raiders and the Patriots. Man, you guys just love those Raiders, man. How much money have you guys lost on Derek Carr before you realize you don't put money on Derek Carr?
I've stayed away from the Raiders for it's had to be, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks now. I feel like that last loss before their bye week though was crushing, but they did have a bye week to kind of get their mind on straight here. And just the Patriots, you never know what Patriots team's going to show up. Neither they're very limited offensively.
They don't have weapons this week. They're hurt. They're coming in. They're in this game banged up. I mean, I like to hear you. I like to hear your argument, Rich. Honestly, because I like to know how you feel the Patriots can win this game. My
argument's pretty simple. Who's the better coach?
Yeah. Well,
that.
Who's the and what's Belichick's record against guys that used to coach against him? Coach with him.
What is his record?
It's like almost perfect, nearly blemish free. Right?
Where did they get the offense
the only innovative thing that the Raiders have done all year, kick off the ball, got taken away from them. So you still have Derek Carr, and there's a chance that Jacobs doesn't play, although I do think he's going to play. But if you don't think for a minute that Belichick is going to say, okay, fine, we're going to shade towards Devontae Adams and take away your run game, and let's see Derek Carr make it through an entire game, throwing the ball 2.5 yards down the line and beat us.
But where's the Patriots offense coming from? They don't have Ramondre Moore this week. He's out. Their running game takes a hit.
They're going to get Damian Harris back, and those two kids that filled in for
Harris
Ramondre,
is out this week.
They played exceptional. No, he's been limited at practice. They said he's likely to play. So whether he does or does not play, we don't know yet. But as of right now, they think he will play. But even still, it's not like the two kids that filled in didn't look just as explosive against the Cardinals last week. In fact, I would say that the one kid, I think was his name Smith or the other one, I don't remember. But one of them looked very explosive on that long touchdown run.
Mm.
I'll say this. I was well aware of the whole assistant coaches against Belichick, but you got to realize most of those stats came with Brady as the quarterback. So there's more to those stats than this Patriots team right now.
But which team is better record-wise?
The Patriots, but you're also who's playing better right now, I would argue.
The Raiders.
Too. The Patriots. The Patriots beat Arizona, but come on, Arizona, they've won what? One of their last 14 or 15 games at home.
I don't know if they would have won that game if Murray hadn't gone out with the injury. I mean, there might have been a different story, but when Murray went out, that whole game turned on a dime.
I'm going to take Belichick. I'm going to take the Patriots with the better defense. I'm going to take the Patriots with the only thing is they're limited on offense, but I think they'll have no problem moving the ball on this Raiders defense whatsoever at all. I do think that Belichick will be able to put a defensive scheme together that will definitely slow down a Raiders offense, and they're going to put Derek Carr in situations where he's going to have to make throws. And if he makes throws, plays like he's played for the majority of this year, he's going to throw some untimely interceptions. He doesn't move the ball down the field. And the only big plays they really have gotten are out of the running game. A couple of big plays to Devontae Adams throughout the year, but probably not as many as the Raider Nation had expected, so much so that they're fighting each other in the stands. I think the Patriots win this game. I'm going to take them money line, plus 102.
It's definitely the matchup, the Raiders offense versus the Patriots defense, because the Patriots offense is going to put up some points just because the Raiders defense is bad, but they're going to be limited to how much they can score. So it's going to come down to
Josh
the Raiders
Jacobs
offense versus the Patriots.
Josh Jacobs, how effective is Josh Jacobs going to be able to run the ball? That's
if he even plays, and they're good against the run. I mean, they got, and I actually think from what I read too, the Patriots are going to get their first round draft choice for the first time this year, an edge rusher. I forget his name as well, but he's coming back, and they had high hopes on this guy. So I think they're going to get some additional pressure this week that we may not have seen from the already aggressive front line for the New England Patriots. I think they win this game handily. Bengals and the Buccaneers. All right, Sean, this is where I feel bad for you, man.
I see 3 units there. So this just comes down to, again, Tampa is not doing good offensively. How much can Tampa's defense, it's playing great this year for what they've been dealing with, handle the Bengals offense? I think the Bengals score too much for Tampa Bay here. If the Bengals get anywhere near 24 to 28 points, they pretty much win this game handily. I'll give up the 3.5, and they're going to win this game.
Why do you agree with him, Jared?
they've been explosive on both sides of the ball. Their run is picking up. They have a lot of continuity on the offense right now. Burrow looks like he's in a zone. He's already in playoff mode. They're getting hot at the right time, just like they did last year. I think this Bengals team just cruises. They go to 9 wins on the season in a row, and they keep the ball rolling into the playoffs. They're hot.
I mean, if you're certainly looking at the trends definitely have to favor the Bengals in this spot against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, fortunately for them, they could probably afford to lose and still be in first place when it's over.
They're going to finish under the 500 record and still win this division. So that's sad, but that's what the NFC South is. So,
the interesting thing will be to see if the Panthers keep winning and actually make it a little interesting. It would be a little. Who would have thought that?
They get the Patriots this weekend, don't they? I mean, not the Patriots. They got the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend. That's a bad spot for Carolina. They do. That's a bad spot for Carolina.
Well, I don't know. Mason Rudolph is going to play quarterback, or Mitch Trubisky. If Pickett can't go, I'm not so sure that either one of them would give me a whole lot of confidence to back the Steelers in that spot. All right, the Falcons and the Saints.
Don't want to touch that one.
This reminds me of one time my friends and I were watching TV, and when the Rams sucked, I think they were playing Atlanta when Atlanta sucked. And, they used to have those touts on TV, 1-900, call me and I'll tell you who wins, and, yelling and stuff at each other. And they came to this game between, I think it was the Falcons and the Rams. And the guy said, this is the 1-800 need help game. In other words, if you're betting this game, there's something wrong with you. Sean, I hate to say this, but this is the 100 you need help game.
But we just talked about the NFC South. These two teams are right there too. Atlanta, I think, is 1 back. The Saints are 2 back. They're probably never going to do it, but Tampa keeps losing, keeps making it interesting. So Desmond Ridder makes his NFL debut here starting for the Falcons. They're going to obviously be conservative. The strength of the Saints has been the defense. Their offense has been limited with Dalton too. So under 43.5, I don't see a problem here. I think both teams are going to want to run the ball a little bit more. It's going to be a struggle for the Falcons to score, I think. So even if the Saints do, score 24-27, I don't think the Falcons are scoring much. And I wouldn't count on the Saints scoring that much neither. But if they do, I mean,
I don't know. I can see the young kid coming out full of bravado. He's saying, "Wait a minute, I was better in college than Brock Purdy." And he's getting all the headlines. I'm going to come out and show you how I can throw the ball.
Well, but it's not going to be up to him. It's going to be up to their coaches, too. How aggressive are they going to be, especially with
an might be sweating this one. I could see a 27-20 game. I could see it. I just got a feeling it's one of those all of a sudden.
I think it's going to be one of those games that comes down to turnovers and what position in the field those turnovers come in. If teams turn over the ball in the red zone on the way to scoring points and they take points off the board, that's going to work to your favor, because I do think Dalton and the rookie quarterback will turn the ball over. And, and the running backs there have a history of putting the ball on the ground too. So I think there'll probably be 2, 3, 4 maybe turnovers in this game. And if they happen deep in your territory and it's, basically gift points for another team, that's going to be the key. If they're after long drives and it takes points off of the board, makes this one an easy under, I think, Sean. So that, to me, is the key to this game.
Yeah, but I mean, even if there are a couple turnovers where they're in scoring position, the offenses will still have to get the points, the touchdowns instead of field goals. I feel like I'm still safe.
Well, I think the Saints can get them, and I think the worst thing that can happen, Sean, is a defensive touchdown. Because I have a rule that defensive touchdown games almost always go over because they're unexpected points. Okay, here's Sean again on the. Now, here's another 1-800 I need help game. The Broncos and the Cardinals. Come on, man.
Ooh.
So
you're jonesing, bro. You're a little bit. You got to go on a win streak, and it's like every game looks good.
So this was between, and this could be 2 units on both. I didn't go that way, but I think the Broncos win this game. Obviously, only giving up 1.5, and I also think the game goes under. I mean, you got Brett Rippon going for Denver. You got Colt McCoy going for the Cardinals.
So go with 5 on the under. They've covered the under every week.
No, I don't throw out 5s like you, Jared. No,
well,
fives.
You used to, Sean, but you finally learned.
I don't throw out 5s.
Took them a couple years, but by about week 13 next week, Jared will go, you know what? I don't do 5s anymore.
Yeah, can we go 10?
Got to pick your spots.
Broncos should be able to get back to run and defense here, and I just don't see the Cardinals offense doing much against that Denver defense. So only giving up 1.5. Broncos should find a way to at least win this game by a field goal.
Yeah, I think the Broncos, they looked a little bit better last week offensively. It's a shame for Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I know.
He doesn't now that he's finally starting to
that
play
was a big wow. Yeah,
But you also
wonder
wonder they were down 21-0, 28-0 before they made that run. So you also wonder how much the defense changed and stuff like that he started putting up those stats.
Yeah, but then the game got within a score, so I mean they're playing normal at that point. All right, Ravens and the Browns. I thought this game had a chance to go over. I have two choices here: the Ravens or the over in this game. And just like last week, the Ravens against the Steelers, the Ravens are the better team than the Browns. There's no question about that. Huntley, right now, the coach says he can do, what can he do? He could name something backwards. I forget what he said, Harbaugh, but there was something he could say backwards. And he said he thinks the player looks good. There's a good chance Huntley's going to go. If not, I still think that defense is good enough to keep this game in check. That's why I kept the 2.5 points instead of going with the straight money line. If I knew Huntley was going to play, make it through the whole game, I would have money lined the Ravens in here. Deshaun Watson, he has not looked good at all.
No.
And this is a game of matchups to me, because the one thing that the Browns do well is run the football. The one thing that the Ravens defense does exceptionally well is stop the run. I think they're the second in the league against stopping the run. On the other side, the Ravens are, I think, the second best team in the league running the ball. And the Browns defense, I think, is 25th, 26th against stopping the run. So even if Huntley doesn't play quarterback and Brown plays quarterback, they're still going to run. And they're still going to be able to stop the Browns' run. I think no matter which way this one goes for the Ravens, the 2.5 points for me, I'll take it. I think they win the game outright, but why not take the 2.5 points if I can still get a plus 100 line?
Yeah, I'd be afraid of Anthony Brown going very limited. But at the same time, I don't trust the Browns to go the other way, so I could see it going with the Ravens because they are the better team. This one was stay away from me.
It's styles make fights, Sean. The things the Ravens do well, the Browns don't do well. The thing that the Browns do well, the Ravens do better, right? The Ravens run defense is better than the Browns.
It's a classic AFC North battle, and you're gonna have points. You always have points in these kinds of matchups, and I think they're gonna be able to score points. I think the Browns are gonna be able to score some points in this game, between 17 and 20. And you got the Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins show on the other side of the ball for the Ravens. I like the over this week. I think it's very doable this week, and that's why I went with the over.
I think 38's a low number. It can go over.
So the only thing I say about the whole, yes, the Ravens have one of the best run defenses in the league, but they don't face a team like the Browns who just run, and have two talented backs like the Browns have. So that would be the only thing. Sometimes those stats can be inflated by the teams you're playing.
Kareem Hunt's had that good of a year this year.
He hasn't. But Chubb's one of the top 3 running backs in the league, and the Ravens don't face those kind of running backs every week, obviously. Now they do face Chubb twice a year, but I would just I'm always hesitant with those kind of stats when you're facing a really good run team or a really good pass team and you're good against the pass. Different matchups.
I think that they are different matchups, but the Ravens are and have been throughout the years good against the run. I think you can. I mean, it doesn't mean that the Browns won't have success this upcoming week, but I think overall the body of work says the Ravens are good on defense this year. They've won games simply because their offense is not winning games for them.
Well, and I was going to say, you can look at this one of two ways on last week, and that was last week, but against Pittsburgh, if it wasn't for Trubisky turning the ball over, they would have definitely lost that game. But Trubisky coming in they were constantly up and down the field, and then he would turn the ball over. He was good up till he got to Baltimore, Baltimore's like 35-yard line, then all of a sudden he wanted to turn it over or do something stupid. So you can look at it one of two ways. The Ravens didn't play their best, and their defense came through like you're looking for them to do here against the Browns.
Which is what's going to happen. This is going to be a low-scoring game, Jared. I think you'll be – I know I don't like those games that have totals under 30, under 40 going under. So I think you're on the right side of the bet. I just don't know if it's a winning bet, which is always the that's what we're here for. All right, Cowboys, Jaguars. Now, Sean,
Watch this game.
I love the way Sean usually gets on the hot team after they beat the team that he picked. So last week he picked the Titans to beat the Jaguars. The Jaguars come through, so I was expecting wholeheartedly to see in big, bold letters from Sean the Jaguars this week, but no.
Well, it was close. It was close. It was like one of the last two that just didn't quite make it.
I knew
it. And it really wasn't because of Jacksonville is playing, but I'm still not really a believer in them. And it's more Dallas. I mean, even last week, they just like to make things difficult on themselves. They really do.
Yeah, I think sometimes they play to the level of their competition and they're not focused. I do think that the last couple of weeks against two of the lesser teams in the league, Indianapolis and Houston, maybe they let their guard down. I mean, I'm not at practice, but I can't imagine Mike McCarthy wasn't in their rear ends. If they have any leadership on the team at all in the form of Dak Prescott and on the defensive side of the ball, it certainly seems that Micah Parsons is no BS kind of guy. I'm sure that he's given his teammates on the defensive side a whole hell of a earful of, hey, we can't have this bleep no more. So I think you're going to see a very aggressive Cowboys defense come out, something that they haven't been in the last couple of weeks. I think they're going to get up and get after Trevor Lawrence, although it looks like he's turned the corner now too.
I was going to say, it is nice to see. I mean,
please.
Finally, we keep saying, at least I keep saying that when's it time to start getting a little worried about Trevor Lawrence? He was supposed to be that next Peyton Manning, and it was not turning out. But in the last couple of weeks, he's finally started. Here's the test, though. This is a big game. I mean, Jacksonville technically is still, if they run the table, they could be there at the division end. Yeah, so it's a big game. This is as big as it's going to get for him right now, early in his career. So,
indeed.
Plus, you're playing America's team, so.
I think the Cowboys put it all back together this week, though, and you're going to see them be able to run the ball effectively. You're going to get T.Y. Hilton. He's going to play for the Cowboys this week. But also Washington that they got from the Steelers should make his debut this week, too. So I think you're going to see them a little bit more effective throwing the ball. And, the truth is last week probably wouldn't have been that close if Dak Prescott doesn't make a couple of boneheaded throws in the red zone that cost them points as well. If Dak doesn't turn up, but, I nicknamed him last year Indacurate because at times he can be inaccurate. So if he's a little bit more accurate, they're able to run the ball effectively. And the one thing about the Cowboys is if they get up on you and they get you in pass-only mode, you're in trouble.
Absolutely.
If you don't have the coverage back and you run that blitz scheme, they're going to burn you over the top. That's what they do all the time. I
will say, though, you said about Dak Prescott, that the reason they're not going to win the Super Bowl is because of Dak Prescott, and also Mike McCarthy's going to get out-coached. He's just I still say he's not a very good coach.
Dallas ain't going to make it to the NFC Championship game. I can tell you that right now. That's what I'm saying. They're not. Even though I picked them to win the division, and I'm going to be wrong about that too. They're not going to get there. They're not. Just not.
Well, maybe we'll see when they play the games. I think they have. I think if you look at the teams in the NFC.
We'll talk about that.
Maybe not the Eagles and the Cowboys. I think in the NFC are the two most complete teams in the NFC.
No, well, this goes back to This goes back to
San Francisco.
Go back to San Francisco again. Because honestly, if you take out the quarterback, the most complete team overall is San Fran. You take out the quarterback.
If you just take out the most important position on the field, but even when they had Garoppolo, they struggled to score. Again, they lost on the road to the Broncos. They lost to, and we'll even throw out the Bears.
Week one,
they lost to the Bears,
and
they lost to Atlanta on the road.
Those also matter.
They also have
matter what you did in week one.
Then, yeah, you gotta look at where they're going into the playoffs. And San Fran's got the complete deal right now.
Again, they've played the second weakest schedule in the NFL.
But you know what's funny about this?
That's a fact.
No.
That is an absolute fact. And they are in the worst division, maybe in all of football.
No, that's the NFC South.
What I'm also going to say here
South.
is the Vikings are 10-3, and we can all agree that the Vikings are at least number 4 behind those 3 teams that we just talked about. Correct?
Maybe.
You don't know what Vikings team's going to show up.
But I think the Vikings have something that, quite honestly, the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the 49ers don't have.
a top 5 receiver, a top
They
3
have
receiver,
Justin
or the best
Jefferson.
receiver in the league,
Right.
whichever you want to call it.
And when you have a guy like that on your team, you're in every game, no matter what. I mean, you have a shot. If that guy's hot, you can win no matter what. So that's the best player on any one of those teams right now.
The only thing with the Vikings would be they are obviously number 4 defense on those 4 teams too. They're the worst defense out of those.
Worst defense and probably but they can score points. So but I still think though the Cowboys win this game. I have them covering. I think this is a game where they can get out ahead by 10 points, 13, 14 points, get ahead 2 scores, force Jacksonville into throwing mode. And if you can get Jacksonville into throwing mode only, I do think you'll get a lot of pressure on Trevor Lawrence, and he'll have a chance to. But the Cowboys will have to play better than they have. All right, Jared, Lions and the Jets. I don't think you really know what you want to do at this game. So do you just want to, instead of saying over or under,
so
you just want to say they're going to score exactly 44?
Yeah, I thought it was over.
I was going under. I was going to go. I told you I was going to go under on that. I was changing that to the under.
Right. I know. I switched it to under.
Yeah, I just felt, based upon what I seen when the Jets on the defensive side of the ball the last couple of weeks, they make you grind. They make you earn every single yard on the ground, through the air. Their secondary is top 5 on defense. I mean, look, they could have won that game against the Bills last week. They were there. A couple of chances where they couldn't convert, and that hurt them. But I mean, they're playing.
We're going to go right back to quarterback here again. Mike White.
I think Mike White is starting.
Mike White.
I think he's starting this week.
No, he's not. Mike. See, here's the problem. But I like your under because I saw the over. And sometimes the best bets are the ones you see other people took. I look at your bets and I see over 44 in the Jets and Lions, and I'm like, oh, I don't know how the heck that's going to get to 44. So then really, I probably should have played the under too. Zach Wilson's coming back because Mike White didn't get cleared with his ribs.
Oh, well, then there you go. That's even the more reason why I want to play the under.
So with the Jets defense,
Zach Wilson, Mike White. I mean, come on, guys.
That's still a major problem. This team is going to have to draft a quarterback.
So
that's
you're talking about like I mean, I don't even know what a good comparison would be. Like a rusty old Pinto versus a rusty old Yugo. All right,
no,
one might.
I'll tell you that.
This
is a bad spot. This will be the toughest defense that Detroit faces that they've faced probably since they played the Eagles, which they were at home that game.
Let's go back to where we started. The beginning of the day. Coming out of college, who would you rather have had, Brock Purdy or Zach Wilson?
Zach Wilson.
Brock Purdy.
Oh, get out of here! You're drinking.
No, it was definitely Zach Wilson. But
overrated Zach Wilson.
I'm going to say this as a Jets fan. I saw this come across the ticker the other day when he was rolled out, and that Zach Wilson was back in, and I went, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!" Because I'm telling you, everybody can say what they want about
motivated football player on the entire.
He's had how many years has he had, Sean, to learn the system? What was he? This is 4th year, right? Was he in his 4th year now? 3rd year?
3rd year, I believe. I'm just going to say.
How long did it take you to learn a system? Come on.
I'm just going to say that Mike White, no matter what you think about.
Is this Salah's first year, no? Or second year?
Yeah, second year. So I will say that Mike White, no matter what you say, and you can look at the stats, he's putting up yards, he's not putting up the touchdowns, but he moves that ball a lot better than what Zach Wilson was doing.
Oh, he does. No question.
Yeah, so I'm okay with Zach Wilson. I mean, I'm going to have to be okay with Zach Wilson coming back, but they're going to be more limited offensively. They're going to rely on this defense a lot more.
They're going to have to.
Yeah. I don't feel
think the exact opposite is going to happen. I think Salah is going to say, you know what? Do the Jets still have a chance to become a playoff team or not?
Yeah, they do.
They're right there. They're right there. Yeah.
So I think if you're a coach, right, and you got a guy like Zach Wilson that you invested a 1st-round pick in, you benched him, you had a conversation with him, you told him, hey, right, you got to get your act together, you got to be a little bit more mature. So are you going to put the kid? To me, if I'm a coach, I'm going to put the kid in the fire and say, okay, I want you to play like an NFL quarterback and prove you can play like an NFL quarterback, and I'm not going to protect you. Go out and win the game like a 1st-round draft choice should. So I don't think they're going to limit the offense. I think they're going to ask them to go play like a 1st-round draft choice should play.
Well, then open it up then, because you still haven't seen them really open it up. If they can't even do it.
the other thing is, and when White's in, they use a little bit of Elijah Moore. When Zach Wilson's in, you don't even know he's out there.
He's too much. He's too reliant on the. He's too reliant on Berrios, who's not efficient. He's not efficient.
The Jets can split these two. They have the Lions here, and they have Jacksonville on Thursday. They can split and still be alive. But really, to cement themselves, they need to win both of these games, and they're both winnable. They're both at home, so
they have to win.
The question is, though, I think the real question in this game is the defense of the Jets versus the Lions offense. If the Lions can put up points, this game's troublesome.
Yeah, and it also comes down
to I think the Jets at home and wind being a factor this week and the cold. I think that will play a part in the field game.
I don't know what the weather is going to look like, but that might limit Detroit a little bit, which will help.
We're looking at least 25-mile-an-hour winds on Sunday, so that may have an effect on the kicking game in field goal attempt.
Meteorologist joins the show, Jared, live with the weather. All right, last game, Giants Commanders, and this is another game that has some playoff implications. For
I didn't bet
teams.
it.
One team going one way. You didn't bet it, yet it says
I didn't bet it because I have to watch it as a fan, and I don't want to jinx my team. But
did you bet the over?
I'm leaning. Oh yes, I bet the over.
I didn't bet it.
Wait a minute! I thought I bet I did bet the over. Yes, I bet the over.
How many bourbons before the show, Jared?
I didn't have any bourbon.
Okay, I'm just curious.
But I do think my Giants will cover this game, even though we won't win. I do think I'm going to cover this game.
Jared, we got to cut your wind in half. It's 10 to 12 mile per hour wind Sunday, so that's a little less.
Well, maybe there'll be a
25. Cut my wind. I just broke some wind, but that's a different story.
Yes, that's why you're in the bed by yourself. All right, 40 and a half.
Damn, this guy is all the ding on me tonight.
Hey, I'm just like that no matter what, no matter who it is. All right, so the Giants and the Commanders, that game's going over. Maybe, I don't know, two teams that can't score. The Giants can only run the ball. They can't throw the ball.
Revenge.
This will be a tough game, I think, for a lot of points to show up.
It's been flexed to prime time, so we'll see.
Ooh,
they also just played 2 weeks ago. I mean, the Commanders, they played them, and then they had a bye, and then they go right back and play the Giants.
Yeah, I don't think the Giants look at that videotape and say, we messed that up. We need to fix that. We need to fix that. On both sides of the ball.
Yeah, indeed. Well, looking at our picks, Jared, for the last 5 weeks, I think you got to look at the videotape and got to fix that. We got to continue to grind it up. But we're off to a good start this week. We're off to a good start. All of us collected on the 49ers, and you collected on the under yesterday, so that's a big plus. We're heading in the right direction in Week 15 as we close in on the end of the year, heading for the playoffs. And for all of you that managed to make it to the fantasy playoffs for your fantasy football teams, good luck in the couple of weeks ahead. I have 2 buys. I won first place in my 2 leagues, and hopefully I'm just hoping I can win. I just need
got a buy in second place right now.
I'm good to go. All right.
Buy in fifth place.
Any final thoughts from the two of you before we go?
Giants win in a revenge game this Sunday. They win it. Not pretty, but they win it.
Not Purdy?
Not Purdy.
No, that would be me. Not Purdy.
No, I'm looking for. I'm glad they have Saturday games, but I wish besides Miami Buffalo tomorrow night, the games kind of stink. So,
speaking of Saturday games, college football bowl season's in full swing. Our good friend Professor Sides will have every single college football game covered. Make sure there's a link down below to his video, his YouTube channel. Go on over there or just look at his website, PicksWithTheProfessor.com. You'll see the play of the day, amongst other things available. Professor Sides, a real statistics professor, has his models. They work most of the time. So check him out. If you haven't, tonight is Friday night. If you have a little insomnia, Tom and I over at horseracingtoday.net did some Australian horse racing at Eagle Farm. And then tomorrow, Saturday, Charles and I, at 12 o'clock Eastern, we'll go to Oaklawn unfortunately, to cover the 10 races that they have down in Hot Springs, Arkansas. That should be a lot of fun. And Sean will be back on Monday with Forever Wild Jamie, and the two of them will have Jockey Week for Horse Center.
Let me know when you're covering Turfway, Rich, because I think I had a pretty good day yesterday there. So.
So jockeys Marcelina Pedroza Jr. on Monday, Pablo Morales on Tuesday, and Eddie Arado on Wednesday. And you're talking about Oakland tomorrow. Barber Road returns.
Yes, and he's not even running in a stakes race, which is weird. He's running in
I'm sure is he a morning line favorite? Pretty sure.
I think he was up near there. I'm just working on it now. I'm putting all the data together before we get started. So we're rolling out a lot of new stuff data-wise. So you're going to want to check that out. We put up our own line now. We're putting up who statistically, based upon 1,000 simulations, will win the race to make our line.
Speaking of lines, you could show your new product line. Just show that header for your product line, since you're segueing on lines. All
right. So horseracingtoday.net. You see it on Sean's head. I mean, come on. You couldn't look any better than Sean looks right now. And certainly that HRT gear makes him look a heck of a lot better. You can go over to horseracingtoday.net, click on that HRT gear line, and you can choose express delivery to get your order for your Horse Racing Today fan. There you go, Sean. And look at that's the first one right here on cue. So make sure you head on over there, pick yourself up a Horse Racing Today football shirt, and you will be unquestioned. You won't be in an ugly sweater party. You'll be at the best looking dude at the party.
There we go.
All right. Does that wrap it up?
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining me tonight. Thanks for joining us tonight, folks. We wish you nothing but success, whether you're betting horses, whether you're betting college football, college basketball, NBA. Everything's rolling right now except baseball. Whatever it is that you're betting, or if you're just kicking back, taking it easy, watching Christmas movies, no matter what it is that you do, we
Christmas
hope it ends
Story.
Up in one place, and that can only be in
the end zone.
Absolutely. Have a fantastic night. Jared, sorry that we ran up your therapy bill so high tonight.
Boys.